You know what it is. We're back again. I'm Mike D.
Brother LT.
And we are
Black and Yerrow. Let's roll. That's a commercial.
I've seen this one.
You have?
Yeah. Seen it a couple of times.
I've never seen it.
It's like so sad for the black people.
What's going on? My man just climbed a light pole to get that young girl's balloon.
7,000 feet up in the air.
Uh-huh. What the hell? This is okay. Why is he sleeping on a toothbrush? Appearance can be deceiving. What the hell?
So hard for the black man.
Oh my God.
It's so hard for the black man.
Where the hell was that thing filmed at? Thailand. Oh, my Asian people, dog.
Yeah, that was so bad.
That was tough. That was tough.
I'm talking about moving to Thailand too.
Mm-hmm.
Made me change my mind.
What'd you think? Well, that was tough.
That was real tough, bro.
That was tough.
That kind of hurt my soul.
That hurt the soul.
They did.
That went deep.
I don't even know what to say.
Hey, there ain't nothing to say.
The man got 17 balloons in his house. He didn't climb 7,000 feet.
He climbed up and then he lay on a toothbrush.
The one and only Gary's Mattress. Now with locations in Koreatown and Little Tokyo. We are Korea jumping the prices. Even we would buy it. Gary's Mattress.
What the hell?
Man on horse, bring gold. For treatment at Gary's Mattress, I'd be very surprised.
What the hell?
Scalping prices. If you find a mattress at a better price, I'll kick a puppy and punch a kid just for you.
Van
Nuys, California. You know what? I actually like that commercial because I do because he broke all stereotypes. He's just like, I'm going with all of them.
Oh, he hitting
I'm
everything.
going with all of them.
But that's old school stuff.
That's old
But
school.
it don't work today.
Yeah, it don't work today. It'd be canceled.
Why?
I mean, we're raising weak guys, man.
No, that's not being weak. That's blatantly.
No, I'm talking about why would he be canceled today?
Yeah.
Because
They should have canceled his ass when he did it.
Nah, it was funny.
It's funny because we older cats.
It's like watching Archie Bunker. Don't turn the man white. New definition of whitewash.
Why are these commercials in Asia, dog? That's fucked up. I'm sorry.
That's the new definition of whitewash.
Racism? Yeah. We can definitely get into that. It's a culture that is homogenous, meaning that everybody looks like them until somebody that don't look like them and everything is fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
We got to celebrate our differences.
What the hell is this?
We got to celebrate our differences. Go to the jungle. It's beautiful. When the whole world sings together.
Wow.
That was actually the worst commercial out of all the commercials.
Wow. That's all I can say is wow.
Hey, that's the worst commercial out of all the commercials.
Wow. Wow.
I don't even know what that commercial was about.
Wow.
That's the worst commercial out of all the commercials. Damn, we've gone through a bunch of racist ass commercials.
Wow. Topic today is what is it like to growing up as a minority in America? You had a chance to watch the commercials. They were pretty racist, and they were.
Well, I come from a different perspective though.
That's fine.
Right.
And that's why I want to start. That's why I want to start with you.
What I'm saying is that I'm a refugee. I was not born here. The fact of me growing up in a predominantly black neighborhood, predominantly poor, I remember as a kid not speaking any English, but the one thing I remember was the black kids called me yin yang. And because, of course, they all thought we knew karate, but we would fight.
You don't know karate?
No.
Okay.
We would fight them because, that's just the way it was. They never seen a kid that looked like me, and I never seen a kid that looked like them.
I got to ask you a question. I'm going to be a little racist here. Did you make the karate moves?
I tried.
Okay.
I made nunchucks.
Okay.
But it's literally for fighting.
Yeah. Make it you.
Yeah, no, you do it because you were scared, and then you still got your ass beat. I'll tell you a quick story. Where I grew up is basically what they call 4th Ward, Houston, Texas. Okay? It's right off of Dallas. Right off Dallas Street, near downtown. The housing where we stayed was called Allen Parkway Village. Basically, back then, that was the murder capital of Texas in the late 70s. And so the kids that I grew up looked like me and looked like you. Culturally, it was a clash. It was crazy because you're talking about being a refugee in a new world. My parents and my siblings and my relatives barely saw white people except during the war. So we're leaving and all this and that. And that's a whole nother side story. We didn't see a lot of black dudes. Like I've never saw one, didn't know one, didn't have TV. Okay? This is an old country. Didn't have TV, didn't have none of that. So we got to America and it's just like, wow, you get put dead set in the middle of one of the most violent neighborhoods in Houston and in Texas as a young kid. The reaction from the kids that lived there, they ain't never seen somebody that looked like me. The only people they see look like me was on TV. And that was Hop Sing on Bonanza and Bruce Lee, right?
Bruce was cool.
But there was only 2 people that I actually saw. Nobody looked like me.
One thing I will say though, and at least when I was growing up, and not necessarily neighborhood wise, but everybody wanted to be Bruce Lee though.
Sure, everybody wanted to be Bruce Lee until you saw somebody that looked like Bruce Lee. Because what you see on TV and then what you see in real life is 2 different things. And so when we grew up like that, we were always fighting each other. We were all friends, but then we fought each other. Because the differences in race, the differences in language, the differences in everything. We didn't have a word for black people. We just had, you're either American black or American white. So in the Vietnamese, it's either mi trắng or mi đen, meaning that you're either American white or American black. There was no verbiage. It was a made up, and not a made up word, but it was just a color tied to your country.
So what you're saying is that there were no slang, no derogatory terms for blacks or whites. It was just black American or white American.
Yeah, because we didn't know.
So let me ask you this, and didn't mean to cut off your story, but based on that, were there prejudices?
Yes, on both sides.
I'm talking about specifically on your side.
Sure.
And what was that? Was it, I mean, because...
Oh, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. We were constantly, as kids, I was constantly fighting with the black kids. The black kids were constantly fighting us until we all learned how to get along as kids. I will tell you that where we lived, we all slept in, my complex at that time, or our little apartment was a 3-bedroom, 2 upstairs, 1 downstairs. We all slept. There were 7 kids, my mom and dad and my grandmother. And my brother at the time, who was the oldest one at the time, and he was 21 or 20, and he was going to get married because the culture determined that he had to get married. He slept by himself, and then my older brother, who had recently passed away, got his own room. So the 2 boys slept upstairs, and the 5 kids slept downstairs, which is my older sister, my older brother, and we slept on 1 bed with my mama and my dad slept on a hammock. Mm-hmm. We had 1 AC unit that we all slept under during the summertime when it was cold. We had a 9-inch black and white TV. The reason why I talk about the 9-inch black and white TV, couple incidents that happened.
You stole it.
Well, I was too young. Those stories are for another day. We're eating, so we used to have mass. So if anybody out there in the world has ever seen Jason's Lyrics, there's a part in Jason's Lyrics where the brothers are playing basketball. That's where I lived. That's where our church used to be, underneath the basketball goal in the community center. That's why I love basketball so much. Let me tell you something. We're eating what we call pho, right? My mama would cook pho, and we would eat. Church would start at 8 in the morning, and we would walk to church from where we're from, right? Or where we're at. At 7 in the morning, we're all up eating pho. Black dude kicks down the door, runs into the living room, runs into our bedroom, steals the 9-inch TV, and runs out the door. And we're eating, and nothing. Nobody say shit. Why? It's common happenstance. It happens all the time. And so it's always, back then, it wasn't crack.
Okay. So it always happens then, always happened back in Vietnam, or always happened in Allen Parkway?
In Allen Parkway.
Okay. I should have moved to a better neighborhood.
Yeah, we had no money. There was always that tension because there was no understanding. The older people didn't speak English. Right? My parents had to learn how to drive. So when my parents first got there, they had to wake up at 3 a.m. to walk to downtown. So now we're used to seeing paroles or probation dudes picking up trash. Back then they gave it to the people. You walked downtown and waited in line, and they picked you to go pick trash for the city. And so that's what my parents did. At 3 a.m, they start picking you at 5:30 in the morning. But because of who they are, right, the whole, what we call the village, will get up at 3:30 in the morning, and
just so they can get a head start on it.
They would get a head start and go wait in line. And they're paying 60, 70 cents an hour back then, right, to pick trash. The first time I ever had a Sprite, I was in I think it was Second Ward, Bruce Elementary. My dad was picking trash, and he had found a Sprite. Called me over to the fence, gave me the Sprite. I took that Sprite home, and I hid it in my parents' fridge for like 2 weeks before I drank it. That's actually the first time I ever had a soda that I remembered. And I was in, so second grade would be 7 years old, 8 years old. Would be the first time I ever had like a soda.
So to say that you were born in poverty is to say very little. How did that, not only the poverty, but also being in a neighborhood where most of the people didn't look like you, how did that shape you for today?
It gave me a wider breadth of understanding as a young person. I would tell you that Houston police or ambulance, Houston did not go into the neighborhood. I still remember one of my good friends getting ran over at 8 years old, playing in the streets, and the ambulance didn't show up for 2 hours. He's mentally incapable. I don't know if he's alive today, but I remember we were playing marbles, and he ran across the street. This dude, white dude, was in the neighborhood, ran him over, took off, hit and run. We tried to call the ambulance. We tried to call whatever. Nobody came. He's wheelchair bound even then. Those are the realities of living. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying.
And so I will tell you that, you know, for people my age, kids that grew up the way I grew up, it's part of life, the trauma of life. I will also tell you the first time I went to the suburb, the way I talked was like, hey, what up, dog? And them kids was like, I am not a dog. Don't call me a dog. I grew up listening to Dougie Fresh, to Kumo D, KRS, stuff like that. I grew up listening to rap, breakdancing, and all that.
Okay,
because the neighborhood, that's what we listened to.
Okay, so quick story here real quick. When I first met LT, I was working at a dealership in Houston. His sister called me, and I say his sister, his sister-in-law called me and said, hey, listen, my brother-in-law is going to start working there. He's going to give you a call, so forth and so on. So I was like, okay. So this fool called me, and I thought he was black. I did. I thought he was a brother. The way he's talking on the phone, he had me, he got me. I was cool in the beginning, thought he was, and then he showed up, and I was like, yeah, where's LT? But go on.
Side note, right? So anyways, my whole life has been that kind of in between, I guess. So I've always been accustomed to living that way. So side note though, I mean, I went to Gregory, which was one of the first public school systems for black kids.
So
before it burned down?
Would you say that growing up poor is a given? But growing up the way you did and interacting with other people that didn't look like you, mostly black folks, how did you learn to navigate in the world today based on your past, based on
what do you mean?
The way that you
navigate racism?
Navigate racism, navigate how to operate, how to move in today's society.
It doesn't, but it gives you okay. I will tell you, like being an Asian man, the stereotype of somebody like me is what, good at math, weak, won't stir the pot.
Very docile.
Very docile, and I'm completely the opposite.
Yeah, you are.
I'm extremely aggressive. I'm extremely aggressive. I will not sit back and let you talk crazy to me. I just won't. I will tell you it's because I always fought my whole life. I've always been the shortest guy. I've always hated bullies. I've always stood up for people that got picked on, even though I was the smallest person. I mean, I would tell you, even in kindergarten, or no, I'm sorry, in first grade, I don't remember the kid's name. That's so long ago. I remember we're all just playing, and then a couple black kids walked up to them and tried to fight him, this little kid. call them yin yang or whatever. And I stood up, I say, you know, in my limited English, whatever. And they looked at me like it's crazy. And I did the karate stance, like I'm about to fight you. And, you know, they backed off. That was always been my whole life. And there's always been that kind of light, what people perceive as light racism, as being Asian, right? Being an Asian male or being an Asian, it's always like, oh, I'll give you a perfect example. If I'm eating something like, what is that? That's not a question of what is that. They assume that I'm eating dog or I'm eating cat or I'm eating some crazy ass animal that's, but for me, I'm strong enough to be like, you know, I feel like it's funny because the person that's asking me is trying to be funny.
Do you feel like it's funny, or do you feel like I want to tell this?
It
I
depends.
want to tell this fool something, but you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead.
But you know me. Do you think I would if I feel like it crossed the bounds?
I've been in some situations with you where you've let
if it
people
crossed
know.
the bounds, I will let you know.
Yeah,
I don't care if you big, tall, or indifferent.
Yeah.
But because it's always coming from me. It's always coming from a weaker person. Does that make sense? Because
is it coming from a weaker person, or is it because they feel like you're weak? That stereotype of the Asian man, small, docile,
they
weak,
also have that feeling. But I will tell you that my aura and the way I project,
so you flex on.
you ain't.
We've gone out. I mean, we've gone out, and some people been, kind of said some stuff, some stuff out of the box. You know what I'm saying? And you checked them right there.
Yeah, I don't play when it comes to stuff like that. I don't play when it comes, unless it's somebody that I know and you ask me an innocent question or you're trying to be funny or whatever that it is, which I had to determine at that time. But if you're trying to be malicious, if you're trying to be like, like trying to show off to, because the majority of the people that do that, they're trying to show off to their friends.
Right.
Does that make sense? Until I check them.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, this Asian dude's completely crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't care how big you are.
Right.
I don't care where you from. I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because most strong people, they don't approach people like that. You got a strong personality, and if you live your life, you ain't trying to be like, oh man. Because the majority of the people that do that, they either testing if they can be a bully or not. Does that make sense?